Well, look, another big story today is that our government seems to be falling into line with Joe Biden on this absurd and economically destructive issue of climate change. You've heard me call it for years a national economic suicide note. Well, now Biden has a 2-day virtual summit this week before another talk fest later in Glasgow on November 1. And Biden tells us that climate change, Rudd-like, is one of the greatest national security threats. Scott Morrison, sensing corporate wokeness, made a speech to the Business Council last night. To be fair to the Prime Minister, he set his face against anything that might damage the economy. But nonetheless, he keeps talking about driving down emissions. To his credit, he says he's not going to tax our industries off the planet, but he's still talking this net zero emissions rubbish, which of course are carbon dioxide emissions. But before Australia climbs into bed with Biden, let me draw your attention to a brilliant piece in the UK Telegraph newspaper by Alistair Heath, titled, quote, "Joe Biden's woke left-wing agenda is a catastrophe for the free world." And Heath sums up how dangerous and weak Biden is, and he writes, quote, 3 months after his inauguration, his administration is shaping up to be the most left-wing since Franklin Roosevelt, unquote. And how woke Biden is, Heath writes, now think of how this applies to Australia, and I quote, "Ideas that begin in Washington make their way to our own parliament offices and streets. Biden's first blunder has been to give free rein to the woke revolutionaries. They consider free speech to be a form of violence and assume that anybody who disagrees is guilty of false consciousness and as such deserves to be cancelled as a dangerous heretic." He writes, it's already destroying American universities and now threatens to debilitate American business. Its next target, he writes, are US cities where idiotic mayors are allowing crime to run riot, unquote. Well, the signature statement of this woke left-wing agenda is climate change. Presumably, the problem is carbon dioxide emissions, though they only say emissions. Well, I must be completely stupid. Carbon dioxide is 0.04% of the atmosphere. Got it? 0.04%. And of the Earth's total production of that 0.04%, human beings around the world produce 3%. And of that 3% of the 0.04%, the percentage generated by Australian industry, transport and farms is 1.3%. Now, you've got to be either dumb or duplicitous to be so woke. These net zero advocates don't understand how foolish they are. You see, apparently we're supposed to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, but the COVID closures and lockdowns destroyed the travel industry, so that slashed travel emissions. But then what happened? The federal government said it would halve the price of nearly 800,000 airline tickets as part of a $1.2 billion package aimed at getting more Australians to spend big on domestic holidays. A 50% discount on tickets between April and July for flights to and from 13 regions: Gold Coast, Cairns, the Whitsundays, the Sunshine Coast, Alice Springs, Launceston, Devonport, Burnie, Broome, Avalon, Merimbula and Kangaroo Island. There'd be a fair few emissions in all that, don't you think? And then, of course, we're promoting another travel emissions extravaganza, the Queensland Olympic Games. Do we want more or fewer emissions? I'm confused. I'm even more confused when the source of the problem is apparently carbon dioxide, which is 0.04% of the atmosphere. I think we all need some medication to recover from such stupidity.